And now for our feature presentation.
You're listening to the JB and Goldwater Show. Live, loud, and online.
He's going to go into the end zone.
Puts it up. Yes! There goes Davis.
Oh, my God.
Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game.
American Pharoah is finally the one. American Pharoah has won the Triple Crown.
And Bonds hits right high. It's a deep. It is out of here. High fly ball into right field. She is gone.
Unbelievable! A home run for Gibson, and the Tigers have won the game 5-4. I don't believe what I just saw.
Here are your hosts, Jamie Bradford and Darren Goldwater.
All right, greetings and a good Masters afternoon. And welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and driven by our friends and yours at Stokes Volkswagen. Find them at stokesvw.com. If you haven't done so, download the all-new JB and Goldwater app, where you can watch and listen to our program daily from noon to 2 p.m. You can always go back and watch and listen in its entirety, or find whatever clip you're looking for after the show as well. You should also purchase a season ticket while you're in the app, and because the season ticket is going to give you access to a bunch of stuff like Gamecock Talk, Whiskey Talk, another new mini-series set to debut here soon. You can win things, be invited to some really special events like the one coming up at the end of the month, and things like that. A lot to do in the app, so make sure you download it, JB and Goldwater. It is a free app, and we would invite you to purchase a season ticket while you are in the app. If you're watching our program, to the right of the screen is Darren Goldwater. I'm Jamie, and we're here until 2 o'clock. And throughout the afternoon, we'll be updating you on what's going on in Augusta at the Masters. We do have David Cloninger set to join us in about 7 minutes here with an update from Columbia on Gamecock football, baseball, and basketball. A lot going on up there this week, certainly. With that, especially as it pertains to the football program. We do have Corey McCartney at 12:30. We'll talk some football with him, and also take a look at some of these award winners in Major League Baseball, amongst other things. And then Scott Glaze at 1:30 today. Scott, of course, is our golf pro around here, and Scott is going to give you his thoughts on what he's seen thus far in Augusta, Georgia. 843-321-8893 is our phone number and our text line. We invite you to use it whenever you'd like to. Send us questions, comments, concerns, critiques, whatever it may be, on Twitter and across all social media platforms at JB and Goldwater, and individually at Sports Radio JB and at Darren Goldwater. We are watching the Masters, Darren. You can't see this if you're watching us. If you're out driving around town, maybe you're at work, you don't have access to be able to watch maybe the coverage, which I was just listening to on the way over here, isn't up to par for you, but you want to get some other sports in your day. Certainly stick with us until 2 o'clock. We will give you the updates as the afternoon unfolds. Tiger has just a couple of feet here, it looks like, Darren, for birdie, and that'll get him into the good numbers in Augusta. Scotty Scheffler and Lee Westwood at the top of the leaderboard currently at 3 under par. After a delay this morning, we thought there could be. There was a delay. And it doesn't look like they'll finish the round in its entirety today.
No, but the good news is everyone will tee off exactly 3 hours after their scheduled tee time today. The good news is that while the delay was annoying, during the show we get to watch DeChambeau, who at the moment is imploding. He's on his third or fourth hole in 2 over. We get to watch Tiger. John Rahm is playing with DeChambeau. So there's a couple of guys. Rahm and DeChambeau are two of the favorites. Justin Thomas is another one of the favorites, but we get to we get to track it. And like you said, I mean, we'll give you the mix of sports. So we'll keep you updated on the Masters. We'll keep you updated on what's going on in Columbia. We'll keep you updated on probably Heisman odds and baseball stuff with Corey McCartney. So we got a full show.
No doubt. Real quick breaking news from Columbia. South Carolina's Aaliyah Boston, the women's basketball team, has been named a preseason first-team All-American. So congratulations to her. David Cloninger coming up with more of an update on all the Gamecock athletics, including the football dilemma, here in about 5 minutes. It is a rainy afternoon. I did just get an update a moment ago. If you're going to be traveling in the James Island area, caution, and you might want to find a new route because apparently the bridge on Maybank Highway coming from West Ashley on to James Island is broken.
Oh.
And that is going to cause a major, major problem over there trying to get on to James Island if that's something you're trying to do. So if you're out cruising around and you're expected to be heading that way later, caution, you might want to find a different route. Real quick before we get back into golf and then get to D.C. as Tiger is set to make his putt here, I just have to get it off my chest.
Okay.
God bless you, Eric Church. Finally breaks through last night with Entertainer of the Year, and nobody – he didn't expect it. Tiger birdies 13, by the way. He's now 1 under par. Nobody expected it. Everybody's sitting around him like John Party and Luke Combs are going crazy. I jumped out of my seat. My wife – because we didn't expect it. He never gets it, and we're always like, dude, if you've never – I don't know how other people win this award over this guy. He's got the most entertaining show out there, and he writes all of his own music. It's all original. He's been doing it for years. It was awesome. Oh, God, it was so awesome. So good for you, CMA Awards. You did it. You did it.
Is she as big, your wife, an Eric Church fan as you are?
I don't know that anybody is, but
yeah, okay,
but she approaches it. And this morning, the kids, of course, were in bed. So this morning, we actually went back and played the performance that Eric had on the show, and my kids sitting there in their chairs eating breakfast were fist pumping the whole time. That's what they know. They know when he comes on, they fist pump like he does.
Yeah, I mean, you're raising them right.
It was pretty cool. It was really neat, and I loved what he said afterwards. He said, "I didn't want to win this award for me or my band. I wanted to win it for the guys in the trucks that go up and down the ramps all night long, moving us from show to show." That was pretty cool.
Yeah, the roadies, it's not easy.
Yeah, he remembered those guys. Mm-hmm. So Scheffler, Westwood in the lead, Schauffele, Webb Simpson, Henrik Stenson, they're all at 2 under. The course thus far playing fairly soft. Bunch of nice numbers out there. Mark Leishman's also at 2 under. Matsuyama's at 2 under. Paul Casey's at 2 under. But the one name who's not playing well, or maybe he'll turn it around here, is Bryson DeChambeau. And we'll see what happens as Tiger tees off on the 14 right now at 1 under par. But DeChambeau, yeah, that doesn't look good for Tiger. 14 way left and in the trees. DeChambeau thought he could just attack this course with a big driver, and thus far that has not worked for him.
No, he does not have the 48-inch driver that was rumored to be possible in his bag, so he doesn't have the huge one out there. But the whole storyline of him leading up to the Masters, and really since the restart, has been him putting on weight, trying to overpower golf courses, and there was a legitimate fear that he could overpower Augusta.
Yeah.
And he's trying. And he's yanking the ball all over the place. He has hit 2 provisionals already.
Right.
One of them off a tee shot, another one on an approach shot out of pine straw. So it has not been pretty so far for DeChambeau.
And that was the one. They had about 7 folks up in the azaleas trying to find his ball. They did find it. He got lucky there. They did find the ball.
Yeah, but then he doubled.
Right.
Because they found the ball in the azaleas. Then he had to get out, and then he 2-putted.
Well, he's at 2 over. He probably could be at least at 3 over, if not 4 over at this point in time. But he's kind of saved himself a little bit. But it's not been a great start, and I think he's learning quickly that this course will eat you up if you think you can just take advantage of Augusta National. That's not really the way it works.
He's lining up an eagle putt right now, but don't expect him to change. It's not as though struggles on the first couple of holes for DeChambeau, and he's going to say, hey, wait a second. Yeah. He's going to still go out there and just mash. So.
Yeah, no doubt about that. See what happens. We'll get you updated on Tiger's next shot here. Not good, though. Off 14, coming off the birdie on 13. To the phone lines we go, into Columbia, South Carolina. We find our friend and yours, the one and only, the excellent writer, very handsome man, on Twitter at DCPNC. That is David Cloninger. Hey, brother.
No, I'm not going to loan you money, man. I see what you're doing with all this buttering up. I mean, but I just don't. I don't go that far with friends, okay? Because I'm going to have to come and collect it, and you're not going to like it if you don't got my money. So let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, I hear you. We tried a different approach this week. That didn't work. Darren, come up with something different next week. You're the producer.
Should we just try and get some money out of him?
Yeah, we can figure it out.
We'll start a GoFundMe.
I mean, don't ever ask a sports writer for money. There's your first thing.
Yeah,
or a sports broadcaster.
Yeah, or radio host. No, we don't have it either. No doubt. All right, so we do have a few things to get to. Go ahead and give us an update on the foot. You know, what's been the feel over the last couple of days, David, around the football program. You know, clearly the conversation is Muschamp going to be here? Is Ray Tanner going to be here? Do they deserve to be here? All that type of stuff. How much of that has infiltrated the locker room?
Well, I mean, obviously I'm not in the locker room, but from everybody I talk to, they all say that their mood's upbeat. They don't pay any attention to that. However, you know that these are young men, young kids, and they're going to see it somehow. So when somebody, you know, like a Nick Muse says, you know, oh, well, you know, fans are fans, and we believe in our coaches and not, say, the Karens or the couch coaches, and that gets a reaction from the fans, and then the kids start chiming back, either at the fans or in support of their teammate, well, you know they've heard this kind of thing. So they heard it last year too. You know, I guess whether it affected them or didn't affect them, because last year the team was so beat up it didn't really matter. But they all say, you know, it doesn't bother us. We still got a game to go play, and they're not worried about what could happen. They're in control of what could happen, and if they have a good, strong finish to the season, they're not going to have to go through a coaching change. But the way they played the past two games, it's not looking very likely that they will. However, that's just looking at chances and predictions, and you never know what can happen here. So everybody kind of knows what the situation is right now, especially Will Muschamp, and you know, they've got one game and 4 games left to play, so they got to go start showing some major improvement this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. You know, you definitely this situation, fluid, I think, is putting it politely. Coming into the year, DC, I think most of us at least were in agreement that Will Muschamp was going to get the 2020 season, and then, you know, we'll evaluate from there. I don't know that many anticipated it going off the rails it has the last 2 weeks. Just a couple of days ago, there was an article in the paper that you wrote and spoke with Joe Rice. I've known Joe a long time. Joe's a great man, great Gamecock, and supports the program in ways most of us can't. You know, and Joe said in there, hey, look, you know, there's – you know, I don't know how you're going to do all this with the pandemic. Got to remember there's buyouts for other coaches and things like that, but I support Will. But, you know, the results need to change, and that's just one of the big names out there who's commented on this publicly and put his name to it. But, you know, there's a few other of those. And so where do some of those sit? I know that some of them can't be named or don't want to be named, but where do some of the power brokers at South Carolina stand on this situation?
Well, you know, obviously I tried to reach out to as many as I can. You know, Joe was nice enough to go on the record, which, you know, I was immensely grateful for. And then there was another guy who didn't want his name on the record, but he was willing to speak about it. And he obviously was the complete opposite of Joe, saying, like, you know, I'm done. I'm done until Will and Ray are gone. And I've given a lot of money over the years, and I'm just not putting up with it anymore. So I'm sure that if you did a case-by-case basis, you would probably find a 50-50 split. I don't know if it would be weighted toward one side or the other. But, you know, I know that there have been a lot of, let's say, concerned correspondence and phone calls to the athletic department after last weekend, and there should have been, because they all want to know, you know, what's going on here. Now, I will say this, Jamie, you know, there's been no decision made. No matter what you read, there has been no decision made, because there are still 4 games left, and this still could turn around. And as for folks saying, like, oh, well, you know, they've already put the buyout money in a checking account, false.
No, that's true.
There's been nothing like that has happened. And as for boosters who are saying, you know, I'm not giving any more money. If there's not a change, I'm not going to pay. I'm sure that there have been some that say this, but let's look at this in a business sense. The money for this season's already been paid.
Right.
Yep.
You can't take it back. This isn't a week-to-week kind of basis. So, okay, you look at, say, going into next year, maybe that happens. But if Will Muschamp's still here next year, it's because he had a big-time turnaround at the end of this year. And nothing's going to cure bad feelings like winning, which is what he would have had to do. So, times are bad right now. And there are a lot of people talking, a lot of people chirping. And if it was just fans or message board posters or Twitter users or whatever, that would be one thing, because that doesn't in any way encompass the entire fan base. I would say that's maybe 15%, maybe 20% tops. But the fact is, there are a lot of mad people. And those mad people some of them give a lot of money to this athletic department. So there's a lot of people who want to know what's going on. They're concerned, and they should be concerned. So we'll see what happens over these next 4 weeks. But, you guys can see it as well as I can. It's one thing to lose a football game. It's another to get blown out at home in a game where you just really didn't even look prepared. And that has got to be a huge red flag at this point, especially in the 5th year of a coach's tenure.
DC, is it safer to say that this is a week-to-week situation, or that this is a final month of the season situation that we'll need to analyze for Will Muschamp?
I think I guess it's kind of both, Jamie, but more, now that we know that nothing's going to happen until the end of the season, you say, all right, well, it's the final month of the season. That being said, let's just say, hypothetically, they go to Ole Miss this weekend and get blown out. Well, I still don't think anything would happen at the end of this weekend, but the fact is it might be like, okay, I think you know what you're going to have to do once the next 3 weeks get out of the way. Mm-hmm. But, you go down there and win. Everybody starts feeling a little bit better, and you say, okay, well, let's see what happens next week against Missouri. So it is all going to be tied to the final record. There's no doubt about that. And I don't want to get into, what numbers have to be or who they got to beat or how they got to look doing it. No. The main thing they got to do is win. And if they don't win enough, then there's going to have to be a change. And, no one's going to have to fault them for that, or no one's going to fault them at this point, because there's been a lot of chances extended, and those chances have not been accepted. So they're going to have to do something, even though it's going to be a tremendous drain on the athletic department. That being said, that's one scenario. The other scenario is like, you got 4 games, they're all 4 wins. Okay, nothing changes, and we all can enjoy the winner.
On Twitter at DCPNC, one of the things that Coach Tanner has said is, he's been very restless thinking about the fact that one of his major concerns is apathy setting into the fan base. That's always a problem, and we know that. But what if apathy sets in with the AD? I've known this man a long time. I will always defend Coach Tanner. That's me personally, but there are many out there that certainly don't want to do that and certainly don't want to hear that. What is the message to people that don't support Coach Muschamp and then certainly don't support Ray Tanner in making the next hire or making the decision on Coach Muschamp?
Well, I realize there's a lot of, anger and consternation because Ray Tanner is the guy that hired Will Muschamp, and Ray Tanner is the guy who extended him after a 2018 season. And I should point out, he extended him after a 7-5 regular season before the Belk Bowl ever happened. So it's not like they got shut out 28-0 by Virginia and Ray said, you know what, you need a contract extension. It happened before that game ever took place. I can understand that he probably shouldn't have done it anyway, but the fact is, let's get it all factually correct before we start saying what's been good and what's bad. But, Ray Tanner does a lot of good around here. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of the folks who chirp on social media and on message boards who just take one thing and continually bring it up, even if he may not have had anything to do with it. My favorite one is they blame him for the men's basketball team not doing as well as it should have these past 3 years. Saying like, well, he doesn't promote them enough.
Yeah. Okay.
What does promotion have to do with winning basketball games? It has absolutely nothing to do with it. I still remember a tweet saying like, if you'd have promoted them better, they'd have gotten an NIT invite. Well, not when they're 16 and 16. Right. That doesn't qualify for the NIT, So I get how it is, and, as an athletic director, you're always remembered for your hires more than anyone else. And what's the most important hire? It's always going to be football because that's the biggest cash cow in your athletic department. So I understand why there is all the anger and consternation. However, I don't see that Will Muschamp's future is tied directly with Ray Tanner's future. because especially in the times we're in, I don't believe that you can hire a football coach and an AD at the same time. I fully believe, as we speak right here today, that Ray Tanner, if he has to, will be in charge of hiring a new football coach at the end of this year, and that will be the end of it. And, he's going to have to go out there and find the best candidate if that has to happen. But, I get it. But with fan apathy towards the athletic director, as long as the teams are winning, they're not going to quit going to games just because they may not like the AD. Don Staley's team is number one in the country.
Right.
You think that's going to preclude people from coming to their games? People are getting excited about men's basketball, which they should. They're not going to stop coming to games just because Ray Tanner's in charge.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. It's like winning's going to cure all. And the fact is, people keep bringing up, it's like, well, he hadn't hired a good coach yet. Well, he's hired 4 coaches. Will Muschamp, obviously, it's not looking real good right now, and it didn't look real good at the hiring. But the new volleyball coach that somehow nobody ever brings up, he came in and took a team that hadn't been in the tournament in 17 years to the tournament in his first year. That's an A+. Okay, Chad Holbrook, it did not work out. But there is not one AD in the country who wouldn't have made that hire.
Right.
Not one. It was the right move to make, and it didn't work out. That's part of being an athletic director. As for Mark Kingston, well, we still don't know. First year, he was 1 game from Omaha. Second year, it was bad. Third year, it started bad, but I don't know how you could say it was going to be a disastrous season when they only played 16 games of it. So you have no idea. That jury's still out on that one, and they got a real talented team this year. So it's just going to be one of those things. We'll have to see what happens. But, I know that there's a lot of people at the University of South Carolina who are very pleased with the job Ray Tanner has done, and a lot of those people are the ones that are going to make that decision. So we'll see what happens as this season goes forward. But I firmly believe that Ray Tanner will hire the next football coach, whenever that may be. And their futures are not necessarily tied together as many would have you believe.
Yeah, and I'd like to point out too, when he extended Will Muschamp at the end of the 2018 season, we need to remember two key parts of this extension. One was at that point in time the best 3-year start in the history of the school for any coach, regardless of how you cut the record. It still was. Number two. One of the reasons that a lot of these coaches get these early extensions in their contract is because of recruiting, DC. And at that point in time, you were now a year removed from that 9-4 season where they had started recruiting a certain number of prospects. And this was going to enable these prospects to feel safe if they signed at South Carolina, and knowing that Will Muschamp would be here for their entire tenure. That's a major part of that. Hindsight is not always 20/20 when it comes to these type of things, so we need to remember some of that stuff.
Well, you're right, Jamie, and you're absolutely right on those facts. I personally don't think that he needed another year to keep recruiting in, because he still had 5 full years after that one. And they said, well, we want to keep it at 6. I'm like, well, okay, you're the boss. And then it looked really bad after they got smoked in the Belk Bowl. But the main thing I looked at is saying that, and here's something that you forgot to mention, Will didn't even want that extension. The Board of Trustees wanted it, and they're the ones that pushed it through.
That's a good point.
Ray was going to go with what the board said because, hey, they outrank him,
Mm-hmm.
So Will actually just wanted more money for his assistants. So they said, no, we're going to go ahead and give this extension. No raise. It's just going to be part of your current deal. I was like, yeah, that's fine. Okay, fine. But, that's something to remember too. But,
that's a great point.
Of course, everybody looks back and says, oh, well, it shouldn't have been given. And again, I still personally feel like, 7-5, that's a real good year here. But I still don't think you should have had to say, okay, well, let's go ahead and push it towards 6 years instead of 5, just because 5 is more than enough, I think. And of course, right now it looks really bad because the buyout got elevated. But, that's just the way things go. And of course, back then, you could never expect that the team would go as badly as it's gone the past 2 years. And you really didn't expect that whole global pandemic thing. That says, okay, you can do whatever you want, but you're going to have to do it with about half of the revenue you were expecting. Makes things a little tough, even if you apply hindsight to it.
Yeah.
How could you not have expected this whole COVID thing? We all saw this thing coming.
That damn Ray Tanner, he should have known it was coming. It's Tanner's fault.
Again, man, I mean, and see that's the thing, and I get it. I mean, it is frustrating. I do understand the frustration because it's not just losing. You go up and you see a home game, and you just get blown off the field, and that cannot happen, especially in year 5. I mean, why in year 5 do you not have another receiver besides Shi Smith?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, these guys got to learn to catch the ball. Well, that seems to be something that you could have found out on the recruiting trail if they could catch or not.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just looking to me, and it's not just the receivers, it's there's spots all over that field. So everything eventually comes back to it and saying, listen, you may not be directly responsible, but you're the head coach.
Well,
so, got to fix it, or you got to take the blame. What's it going to be?
Yeah, and you're right, and I think too with fans, although some of them may not be able to fluently tell
Articulate
you
it.
that articulate what they're trying to say at times. I do think that there are people, and hey, I can't say that I'm any different. There's an unwillingness at times, whether it's in game, post game, during practice, or whatever, to make change, and that is a major difference from the prior staff here. Now, it's not fair to compare Steve Spurrier to Will Muschamp, but naturally, we're all going to compare them to each other because they're. They follow each other. I mean, Will Muschamp's tenure is following Spurrier, so obviously there's going to be a comparison. Spurrier's was compared to Holtz. Holtz was compared. I mean, they're always going to be compared. Spurrier, if someone had a bad game, do you see you're right in the thick of it. You have a bad game, you'd see after the ball game, Spurrier, we're going to give the next guy a chance. There's been an unwillingness to do that. There's an opportunity to win this weekend. Clearly, they're going to give up points because they've been giving up points till they prove all of us wrong, but they're going to have to score a lot of points. David, what changes might we see? Finally.
Well, obviously the big one starts under center, and now here's the rub, guys. Of course, when they said we're going to have to start looking at a change, I'm thinking like, all right, well, even if he's pretty good in practice this week, I don't see Colin Hill starting just because you have to go ahead and give another guy a shot. And nothing against Luke Doty, but I don't know if you really want to put a true freshman out there on the road and basically saying, we need a spark and you're it, go. I mean, because if they get blown out, then that's going to hurt that kid's confidence. Mm-hmm. So nothing against him, but as soon as Will said it after last week's game, like, all right, we're going to have to look at a few things. I'm like, all right, well, that pretty much says to me Helinski's going to start Saturday. Now, I still believe that will happen.
Yeah.
I still believe that will happen. But also, and just doing some checking and with people I usually check with, hey, how's practice going this week? Actually, Hill's been looking pretty good. Like, man. And so they're really in the situation where they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't. Because let's just say they put in Helinski and he plays well. Well, then the question is like, why didn't you do it earlier?
Mm-hmm.
If he doesn't play well, why don't you put in Doty? Why'd you take out Hill? And if you start Hill, the fans that do come, USC fans to Oxford, they'll probably be booed from the start. And the first time he takes a sack or misses a pass, the boos will be worse. And saying, why aren't you giving another guy a chance when you could? So I agree with you that, Spurrier would always shake it up at the first sign of trouble, and Will's always been more of the man that they play well in practice. Like, yeah, well, I do realize it's an extreme example because 99% of the kids that do play well on Saturdays play well in practice. But I always go back to Alshon Jeffrey, man. Kid was not good in practice, and a lot of it was because of his work ethic. Mm-hmm. He knew how good he was, so he knew he didn't have to work at practice. But you got him on the field like they did that first time against Kentucky, I guess 5 games into his freshman year.
Right.
He caught 3 touchdowns.
Yep.
I was like, okay, we're playing that guy.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter from that point. But see, you had to work up to that point because like everyone else is like, are you going to work in practice? And you'd be like, I mean, he did. He practiced, but did he give all out effort? No. Because he knew he didn't have to.
Yeah.
So I always look at that example, extreme as it may be, and saying, look, man, you just got to go with it sometimes instead of saying, this is what got me here, this is what I do, whatever. Well, it's like, well, at this point, you're 28, 29, man. Whatever got you here is not working. So you've got to try it. I mean, what have you got to lose at this point? And the best part is going back to the old Billy Martin philosophy. In the 77 ALCS, I believe, when he decided to bench Reggie Jackson for the ultimate Game 5 against Kansas City, I was like, you know what? If I go out there and win without him, it proves I know what I'm talking about. And if I didn't, well, I'm going to get fired anyway.
Right.
What if you got to lose?
Yep.
Yeah. No, I agree. We could see some shakeups maybe on the offensive line as well. I mean, I would like to think that they try to change something on defense. 100 points combined in 2 weeks isn't exactly getting it done, but we don't know any of that.
On that point, Jamie, I mean, who do you put in?
I don't know.
I mean, the fact is they've been so beat up and destitute at linebacker, that's just changed the whole complexion of it. When you don't have 3 healthy linebackers to put on the field, well, you can cover that by saying, that's okay, we'll just play dime, we'll play nickel, we'll get a lot of our defensive backs who are pretty talented out there on the field, but those guys are not supposed to have to bring down running backs as much as they do.
Mm-hmm.
And so injuries have really socked that linebacker core, and, hey, me too. I saw the defensive line as being this team's strength. And, again, you can't do a lot when you're outweighed 40 pounds per man, but you've got to find a way around it. Yeah. There has to be a way around it. Now, they're not going to be playing an offensive line like LSU and Texas A&M had this weekend, but it's still pretty good. And Ole Miss does have the league's best rushing attack.
Right.
So when you've given up 260-plus on the ground in each of your last 2 games, those are not the numbers you want to see going down to Oxford.
No. Ole Miss is going to score points. Carolina's going to have to score a bunch of points. Honestly, to win this game is going to have to look like it did 2 years ago, DC. They're going to have to win it somewhere in the mid-40s. If not more.
And honestly, what was it, down 17 in the fourth quarter, something like that?
Yeah.
I remember I'd already written it up like, well, they lost. They couldn't score enough points. And by the time I got down to the field and set up my stuff in the little media room there, I think it was down to 10, and then USC took the lead. Maybe they were only down 10. Maybe that was it.
Yeah.
And then they got the stops they needed at the end. But I remember having to go back and change the immediate story like 4 or 5 times, dashing back and forth from the field there because it was just everything was so nuts down there. But could be the same this weekend because even though Ole Miss's defense is getting better, it has not been good, and they know how to score. So it's like, well, they know how to score, and USC hasn't had a good defense, but Ole Miss's defense hasn't been that good either. So if you could just find somebody to catch the ball consistently, it could be a big day. And, of course, the last time it was down there, Debo took the opening kick to the house.
Yeah.
So if they can find somebody to do that, like DeCarrion Joyner or whoever, that would definitely be welcomed.
Yeah, I was about to say Debo. I don't think he's going to come walking through the door, but maybe Debo Jr.'s hanging out somewhere that we don't know about. Before I let you run here, Frank has met with the media this week. Basketball set to tip off at the end of the month. Non-con released. This is a good non-conference schedule for South Carolina. This is going to be tough. Glad that they're able to keep Clemson on it December the 19th. But any takeaways in particular from Coach Martin's press conference yesterday?
No, it's the same thing. It's good to hear everybody's healthy, doing well. There are no major injuries or COVID, anything like that. Obviously, they did lose Patrick Uriel, who completely off of the basketball radar or Frank relationship radar. Just he said, I don't want to be in college anymore. Well, okay, fairly well.
Yep.
All right, so that chips away a little at their depth because he would have played, but he wasn't going to be a starter. With this non-conference schedule, though, it's got the teams on there that you knew were going to be on there, like Clemson, like George Washington, like Houston, and then they had to add a couple when COVID affected everything. So that November 25th date, it's got to be an exhibition because it was going to be a game, but then the opponent had to back out, just the cost of doing business these days. So it's going to be an exhibition against a small in-state school. I think if you kind of go down the list of who South Carolina's played the past few years, you can figure out who it's going to be.
Yep.
And then they'll go out to Kansas City and play 2 games in 2 days over the Thanksgiving holiday. So there is the exhibition, but the season opener is really going to be November 28th against Northwestern. So I know what everybody's thinking right now because that's what I thought. Northwestern had a really bad year last year. I think at one point they lost 17 straight.
Mm-hmm.
They don't wear green, but I wouldn't expect to see a purple Stetson on their jersey. Be like, all right, now you know what's going to happen here, but that's the kind of thing that South Carolina has to avoid, especially this year. Go out and win as many games as you can early, and generally when they get into the SEC, they've been very good. Of course, the SEC didn't try to show any semblance of fairness by saying, oh, no, you're a Gamecock, so you're starting on the SEC road for the 8th time in 10 years.
Right. At Kentucky.
And you're starting at Kentucky. Now, I know, say what you want. It's like, man, yeah, that's real fair. Like, look, you only got to play them once, and it's 1 in 18 games. So one thing is like, they might be beat up from COVID and winter break. Who knows what's going to happen? You go up there and win, everything's cool. And if you don't, it's out of the way.
Yep.
You got it done early. So now you can come home. You got 17 more games to really go. And there's not really a bad stretch among that conference schedule.
No.
And then, the team that's been their bugaboo the past few years, Alabama, you get them at home, and it's late in the season. So it's like, okay, by that point, maybe you kind of know what you're up against, and you could take those guys out for once. But, it's a strong schedule, and if they can, win more than they lose, substantially more, which I think they should, they should be able to break an over streak that they've had the past 3 years.
Yeah, a lot of national analysts and stuff high on South Carolina this year as well in basketball. On that note, DC will let you run. You're making the trip to Oxford, I hear. Is that true?
I will. Yeah, I'm pulling out of here about 8 tomorrow morning.
Oh boy, well, have fun. I know the Grove will be closed, so you can't hang out in there. But hopefully you can bring a win.
The good
back.
thing is that Gene's down at the Masters this week, so we worked it out. He's going to stand on the side of I-20 as I come through Augusta, and he's going to whiz a pimento cheese sandwich into my car. So we got all that worked out. He's always taking care of me, so I do appreciate that.
Absolutely.
The Masters is doing something with their food. You can order Masters food, and they will deliver the ingredients and the directions, if you will, for how to make.
You're kidding.
No, how to make everything that you could get on the course. Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of people need instructions on how to make a pimento cheese.
Just saying.
Hey, I appreciate that. If you're maybe on the way back, just tell them to leave a box on the side of the road. I'll come by and pick it up.
Yeah.
Either that, or before you get out of town, just stop at Bernie's and just act like it's Augusta. You can handle that. They got pimento cheese sandwiches with the crust cut off there as well. So. On that note, man, we'll leave it. Have a safe trip to Oxford. I hope you bring a win back, DC. We can have a better conversation about all this stuff next week.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
There you go, David Cloninger with the Post and Courier. Corey McCartney in Atlanta up next, and we'll update you from Augusta as soon as we return on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Are really scary? Does it look dreadful or smell awful? Don't be frightened. There's never been a better time to trade in your spooky old car. Stokes Volkswagen just received a new shipment of the VW Atlas and VW Crossport. But here's what makes that even sweeter. Every new Atlas and Crossport is $3,000 off MSRP. Plus, every 2020 Volkswagen is available with 0% financing. That's right. You get both the huge discount and 0% financing. So if you want to play trick or treat at other dealerships, that's okay. Come see us at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or visit stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Plus tax tag includes $399.50 closing fee. Offer subject to lender approval. Expires month end.
The best cheesesteak in Charleston is at DB's Cheesesteaks. JB here. We say it every day, and we mean it. You voted for them. Let DB's Cheesesteaks in Avondale and West Ashley feed your family this football season. Use your favorite delivery app. Have them dropped off before your favorite game. And don't forget the boardwalk fries. They come with the Old Bay seasoning. DB'sCheesesteaks.com for the full menu. Hoagies, hot dogs, burgers, and more. DB's Cheesesteaks, the best cheesesteak in Charleston, the best cheesesteak for football.
Family Bingo Night is back. All 3 Dog and Duck locations. Every Monday from 6 to 8 is the perfect time to bring the kids, have dinner, and play bingo. They've upped the prizes with retail store gift cards, gas cards, in-house cash cards, and kid-friendly gift cards like Nintendo, pizza, App Store, and more. Thanks for supporting local businesses like the Dog and Duck in Bell Hall, Park West, and on Clements Ferry Road.
What's up, everybody? This is South Carolina singer-songwriter Patrick Davis, and I might live in Nashville, Tennessee now, but guess what? I can always keep up with the news back in South Carolina because I've got the JB and Goldwater Show. Thank you, JB and Darren, for being live, loud, and online.
I've been from Tucson to Conquering.
Tomorrow night, Charleston Music Hall. This gentleman right here will be in town in a socially distant show. Looking forward to being down there and seeing my old friend. You should too. PatrickDavisMusic.com. Only a few tickets remain, if any, actually. You can check. Go to PatrickDavisMusic.com for tickets tomorrow night to the show. All right, to Atlanta we go. And that's where we find Corey McCartney on Twitter at Corey J. McCartney. We'll get into some baseball stuff with him here in just a few minutes. Talk some football and things like that. But, Corey, you watching the Masters?
No.
Oh, come on.
Really?
I hate golf. No, I can't stand golf. Listen, if I'm going to go spend 3 hours outside, I'm going to go run. I'm going to. Yeah, I'm not a. No.
I would love to be a professional golfer if they'd let you ride a cart around.
That's the exact opposite of what Corey just said.
I know, that's my
the
point.
Exact opposite.
Yeah, the only interest I have in golf is like, Happy Gilmore. What's the greatest game? Like golf movies are great, but yeah, man, no.
All right. On that note,
fair enough. Then we won't talk golf with you.
This party really died. Lee Westwood, Paul Casey in the lead at 4 under. Tiger got about 12 feet here for birdie at the 15th. And he sunk it. So Tiger now 2 under par at the Masters, 2 shots off the lead. All right, Corey, real quick, let's get to some baseball here. We got Trevor Bauer and Justin Bieber, his brother Shane. They are Cy Young Award winners this year. Right choices?
Oh yeah, I mean, look, Bieber was unanimous, and I don't think there was any question he was going to be unanimous. And Bauer was just so good. I mean, it's interesting to think like what it could have been, and I'm not saying he would have won, but Max Fried was on a ridiculous run through his first 9 starts, and I think had he not gotten on the injured list and maintained that run that he was on, things could have gotten interesting. But Bauer's numbers were just so unbelievable. I just don't know how you could find a justification to deny him.
No kidding. Does he stay in Cincinnati? I think this is the 3rd time we've asked you this question.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it all boils down to what we've talked about before, which is whether or not he's dead serious about wanting to take a massive 1-year deal, or if someone can entice him to sign for multi-years. I wonder how much the climate kind of impacts that decision. If this was another year, maybe you can say, yeah, somebody's going to give this guy $34 million to pitch for him for 1 year because it's a 1-year deal.
Wow.
But as things have kind of changed with the economics of the 2020, lost revenue for so many teams. I mean, is he going to be put in a position now where he has to think about, what's it going to look like next year when potentially there's even less, there's no fans again for long periods of time. What does that mean for me? So I think it'll be interesting. I think you're going to see, the Angels, they're going to be major players in this. The Mets, I think could you imagine that? Noah Syndergaard coming back for Tommy John surgery at some point. Marcus Stroman's is taking the qualifying offer. And then you've got Jacob deGrom, and you add Trevor Bauer to that. I mean, that would be insane. And I wouldn't put it past Steve Cohen, their new owner. He wants to be aggressive, wants to win, and that would certainly be a move to move in that direction.
Yeah, I'm going to add to that here as well, because JT Realmuto could end up in New York also. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I mean, look, don't put anything past this guy. It's interesting because you have a team with every advantage, but you've had the disadvantages of being poorly run. You've had, obviously, bankruptcy in the past. You've had, we had scandal with ownership before. Now you got a guy who's seemingly has his head on straight and wants to win. I mean, this is the worst case scenario for the rest of the National League East.
Agreed.
Because you have the biggest TV market in the world and a guy that owns a team there that wants to win. I think that's a problem.
Absolutely.
Yes.
There's no question about that. Tiger Woods, by the way, on 16 is within about a foot off of his tee shot for birdie here. Expected to go to 3 under par and be 1 shot off of the lead. Corey,
Corey doesn't care.
I know he doesn't, but we have to.
I like Tiger Woods. I liked Tiger Woods before the golf, the club hit the back of the car.
Yeah, okay.
Tonight at 6:00, we're going to have the AL and NL MVP winners announced. The finalists in the American League: Jose Abreu, DJ LeMahieu from New York, and Jose Ramirez with Cleveland. And then in the National League, of course, Freddie Freeman and Manny Machado joining him up there. Mookie Betts from the Dodgers. Does Freddie Freeman, is the feel that he can win this thing? Is he the leader to win this? That's a great group.
Yes, and I think he'll win handedly. I think Mookie Betts, the Dodgers would have won the National League West without Mookie Betts. Manny Machado was probably not the best player on his team. But the Braves do not come one win from a World Series without Freddie Freeman having the best season of his career. It's interesting that Dale Murphy tweeted out yesterday that he's going to be awarding this award tonight. I think,
Wow.
a little bit of an omen there. I think he's going to be giving it to Freddie Freeman. And, we talked about a guy who's been underappreciated, who's, been that overlooked star. I think that's been getting away from that the last 2 years. Tonight is the definitive moment where the word is out. If you're not hip to Freddie Freeman now, this guy is he's going to get his due starting tonight with the National League MVP.
What will this mean in the grand scheme of things in the career of Freddie Freeman?
I mean, I think this is the defining moment, right? I mean, certainly, if you were to ask him if they had won one more game and he got a chance to play for a World Series, that would have been the defining moment. But I think when you consider, his place in this franchise as being that next cornerstone after Chipper Jones, and really the defining player for the Braves for an entire generation of fans, this is one of those tentpole moments. I kind of think back to 1982, and talk of Dale Murphy, and the Braves were horrible, and here comes Dale Murphy. They're on national television across the country, and he gets his MVP, and that's a defining moment for him. I think this is his version of that. They were bad for a little stretch there, and he was that foundational piece. They got back to 3 straight National League East titles, and this is the moment that I think really he cements himself is that player for this generation for the Braves.
Where is Freddie in his contract right now with the Braves?
So he has 1 year left. So I think I would almost guarantee before they arrive in February for spring training, he has a new contract. I think that has to get done. I think the last thing you want is the reigning National League MVP going to spring training with questions about what he's going to do after the season. So I think, they did it the last time. November was, I believe, was the date of the last time when they did one of these deals with him. But I think it definitely gets done. You're going to see him probably be locked up for 5, 6, maybe even 7 years to guarantee he ends his career with the Braves.
Yeah, because he's 30 years old, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. Getting him to 36 or 37, that would probably about do it for Freddie Freeman.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we'll see. If the DH is in play in the National League in 6 or 7 years, he could stick around till he's 50.
And I will say, I mean, he's said this to me many times, that his conversations with Chipper Jones, he understands what it means to stay there. He understands what it means to not only stay with one team, but do it with this team. I think that's a defining factor for him. I mean, obviously the money is important, but I think you're going to see a guy understanding, look, we've got Acuna and Albies in these manageable deals. I don't believe he's going to take what he would get on the open market because I think he wants to win.
On Twitter at Corey J. McCartney, joining us from Atlanta, Georgia, 1246 here on this dreary and rainy Thursday afternoon in the low country of South Carolina. All right, Corey, let's go back to last weekend in football. Notre Dame in double overtime beats Clemson 47-40. What were your main takeaways from that result?
The game, or what we saw, and after, I'm not going to get into that. Obviously, I mean, I think that last drive looks very different with Trevor Lawrence back there. I think DJ was out of sorts on 2 of those snaps, and I think if that's Trevor, you don't see that same thing happen. I think it has potentially a different outcome for Clemson. We're going to obviously see this again. I think they played a fantastic game. That was an epic, and I think getting to see that matchup again with Lawrence at the keys is going to be a lot of fun.
Well, Notre Dame now ranks second by the AP, and you've got the college football playoff rankings coming out after next weekend's ball games for the first time this year. If they beat Boston College, let's see, Notre Dame's got Boston College, and this is a tricky game for them this weekend in Chestnut Hill. They better be careful, and then they got to go to North Carolina. But these 2 games are enough, Corey, where if they're able to win these 2 games, stay at 9-0, there's no doubt that they should be number 2 in the country, if not even challenging Alabama for potentially number 1 in the country based on their resume because they beat number 1.
Well, Ohio State's not playing this week. Obviously, That game's off the docket now with Maryland having their own COVID issues. What's going to happen the following week against Indiana? Are they going to be able to play that game? If they don't play that game, I mean, things could get really dicey because, of course, the Big Ten has a 6-game limit on what you need to be able to play to contend for their conference championship. So, if I think that these next 2 weeks are huge for Ohio State, and obviously that leading into those first college football playoff rankings is going to be pretty instrumental in how those look.
It's big for Ohio State. How big are these next couple of weeks for Justin Fields? What if Justin Fields doesn't get into the Big Ten championship game? Can he win a Heisman Trophy?
I think he can. I mean, look, this is different from the Trevor Lawrence situation because his team's not playing without him, right? I mean, if this is the amount of games. But I will say, I mean, I think when you consider the way Mac Jones has played, and I wrote about this this week on Fansided, that Kyle Trask is having a ridiculous season, and he has that opportunity, should everything continue on the path it's on, to get Mac Jones and Alabama in that SEC title game. So that game in itself is setting itself up to almost be an eliminator game and could well determine who ends up getting this award. I don't really think there's. To me, it's three guys, and I think it's either Fields, Jones, or Trask at this point. I just don't see anybody else being able to make enough noise or get enough momentum to be able to take the award from them. Unfortunately for Lawrence, again, he missed those 2 games, which is basically a death knell. But yeah, I think Fields is still a challenger as long as he's not missing the time beyond what his team is.
All right, so Clemson's got a lot. So let's talk about the Tigers for a second here, because they are ranked 4th. Again, this is an AP rankings, also the coaches poll, and they're not playing this weekend. Next weekend they're going to make the trip to Tallahassee, and that won't be close. God bless the Seminoles, who have a lot of problems right now. In addition to all the problems they already have, they just got a bunch of problems. Sounds like South Carolina.
Hey, Penn State.
But here's Clemson. So they've got this loss. And more than likely, if things stay on track, you're going to have Clemson and Notre Dame potentially seeing each other again in the ACC championship game, where I would like to think on a neutral site, Clemson is probably going to be favored, and they're going to have a great chance to win that football game. But let's just play hypothetical here. Let's say at the end of the season, these teams have identical records, and they've both beaten each other once. Is this a case where they maybe at that point in time would both deserve to be in the playoff, or is it a one or the other type situation?
I think it's one or the other because I think let's say Clemson handles them the next time. And maybe it is close. I think if Lawrence is in there, it's not. Then you look at it and say, okay, well, Notre Dame did not beat the best version of Clemson, and they don't have a conference championship. And now all of a sudden, Notre Dame has not had to deal with that. But that is a factor. That's a determining factor in how the College Football Playoff Committee ranks these teams. And if that's not a piece on their resume, and they did not beat the best version of Clemson, I don't understand how you can put them both in. We know the Big 12's out. The Pac-12, they're going to what in the world's happening out there. But conceivably they have a contender. Obviously, the Big Ten's going to have somebody. The SEC could potentially have 2. I think they're only going to get 1. But I just don't see a scenario where both Notre Dame and Clemson get in if Clemson is able to handle them the second time.
Yeah. So okay, yeah. There's a realistic chance here. All right, that there are 2 leagues who could have 2 teams, knocking on the door for this thing, and that's the ACC and the SEC. And the way that I see this in the SEC is, if Florida would, let's say Florida and Bama play in the SEC championship game, Florida happens to beat them. Clearly, they're going to be there, but that would probably mean 3 teams if A&M wins out. But if Bama goes undefeated and Florida takes a second loss and A&M keeps winning the rest of the games this year, although the tie whipped them earlier in the season, does A&M at that point in time, based on what they've done since week 2 and losing to Alabama, do they have a real case to be in the playoff, maybe even over a one-loss team who would lose in an ACC championship game like a Notre Dame?
I don't think so. They keep telling us that the conference championship matters. So I think you have to weigh that factor in as well. What happens in the Big Ten? Does Ohio State go undefeated? And there's the second spot right there. What happens in the Pac-12, and then you've got I just don't see, I don't think this year we're going to get 2 teams from the same conference in. I think it's just going to be too difficult because we're not having that ability to kind of look at how, this team beat this team, but from this conference, we just don't have that variable at play this year. And unless Alabama loses to Florida in the SEC title game and has that 1 loss, I just don't think the SEC is getting 2 in either.
Talking with Corey McCartney here. JB and I got into a little discussion, I think it was this week at some point. Let's say the Pac-12 winner is Oregon or Southern Cal. Let's say they go undefeated through the Pac-12 and they've played, 7 games? Mm-hmm. 8 games? 7 games. Yeah. And let's say Cincinnati runs the table as well. Is it possible that the committee puts in Cincinnati over the Pac-12 undefeated champ because they haven't played as many games?
That's a great question. I honestly, I would say no. I think you're running the risk of really alienating the programs that drive everything and the conferences that drive everything. I think you would have a compelling argument, but certainly when you think about the quality of teams on your schedule, I think that's what it's ultimately going to boil down to. And again, this is a weird year because it's hard to gauge the complete quality of a team within a conference when they're only playing that conference. So I think that kind of is a weird piece of it. I have a hard time seeing a team that's outside the Power 5 being able to take a spot over an undefeated team from the Power 5.
Yeah, I like what you said there, the quality of the schedule. Oregon is a great example because I think we can all agree that Oregon appears to be the best team in the Pac-12, right?
Yeah.
But, Stanford, Washington State, UCLA, Oregon State, Cal, Washington, none of them appear to be great football
Oregon
programs.
and Southern Cal.
More than likely, but how good is Southern Cal? Southern Cal could still get there with a loss or two in the South even, maybe, even though they're only playing 6 games. So then you take the entirety of an Oregon schedule at 7-0, and you're going, okay, well, who did they beat versus a Cincinnati? Or even, I would think the better case would be if Notre Dame happened to lose to Clemson in the ACC championship, and you're going, wait, this is an 11-1 Notre Dame team who beat the number 1 team in the country, went on the road to Chapel Hill and won, went on the road to Boston College and won, and all these big wins. I know they have a loss, but they also have 11 wins, including the top-ranked team in the country. How is that not rewarded more than just 7-0 versus a bunch of mediocre guys from the Pac-12?
Yeah, and when you're thinking about Cincinnati, I'm not trying to deride their schedule. But look, Army was ranked when they played them, and they've continued to obviously play well. They beat a 16-ranked SMU team who's continued to play well. But UCF was going to be a big nugget for them. They've fallen off.
Yeah.
I just don't think that there's a piece there, to say that they would deserve to get in over, a potentially one-loss Notre Dame or a Pac-12 champion.
All right, now here's the next question. Yesterday, Greg Sankey, the SEC commissioner, was asked about maybe backing up the playoff if they need to because of COVID-related situations, having to get all the games in and then give these teams enough time to prepare for a playoff. He was also asked about potentially expanding the playoff, and he did say he thinks it would be more difficult to complete a playoff if they expanded it to, say, 8 teams. Do you agree with that, or do you think they should at least consider moving to 8 teams because of the craziness of this year and the uncertainties of schedules?
I think it would be beneficial, but obviously Bill Hancock has said that they're not going to do that this season. I would honestly, and I know that the Sugar Bowl and the Rose Bowl are obviously married to tradition. I would really like to see them push back the playoff a little bit here. There was just, the Big Ten in particular did not give itself any kind of wiggle room to be in a situation where they couldn't get all their games fit in before the conference championship. To their credit, the SEC has put themselves in a position where they can still have a little bit more room to play with. But I think if you were to push back the playoff just by a couple weeks, maybe we have an opportunity for some of these games to be made up. To me, look, if Indiana doesn't get a crack at Ohio State, what does that do to the complexity of Indiana's season? It's interesting if they somehow didn't play each other next week and they both continue to win out, you would have to go to their tiebreaker, which their tiebreaker is the record of the teams that they played from the West. And the West, teams that Indiana played are weaker than what better than what Ohio State played. So Indiana would potentially get in over Ohio State if these games wouldn't be able to be made up. If obviously things stretch into next week as far as these complications in the Big Ten. So I would just really like to see things pushed back so we can get more of these games actually completed. How
much of a believer are you in Indiana?
They look really good, but at the same time, I don't think Michigan is anywhere near what they maybe appeared to be that first time out against Minnesota. Penn State's been no offense, but Penn State is this is the worst season of Penn State since 2001.
Corey,
I believe that's the last time they lost 3 games to start the season.
Yeah, I said yesterday or 2 days ago, I made a very strong case, if I do say so myself, that the biggest dumpster fire in all of college football this year is Penn State.
Yeah, I'd probably go with Michigan. I think that, to me, because it's just been building, and I think this is going to be it for Harbaugh. I just cannot see him survive, especially if he gets waxed by Ohio State. But I just think there's just been so much weirdness within the schedule that Indiana was set up with. I honestly think if they play Ohio State, they get beat by maybe 2 touchdowns. But I want to see that game for sure.
Me too.
All right, before we let you run here, we've talked about the Heisman, for the last few weeks, and I know that you mentioned those 3 names. Who did you mention?
Fields, Jones, and
Trask.
Yeah.
Can I throw one more in here, though? And I know this team isn't going to go to the playoff or anything like that, but they are leading the Big 12. Iowa State at 5-1. Breece Hall is the only running back in the country with over 1,000 yards, and he's done it in 7 games. He's got 13 touchdowns. Is he not worthy at least of consideration at this point?
I don't think so. Okay. It's too a little late to the party. He's just think about the I guess the perception of the Big 12 this year, right? I mean, it's been, I think by and large, if you were ranking the Power 5 conferences, I mean, you're putting them last, right? I mean, they've not been a lot of positives coming out of there. The teams we thought were going to be powers have not lived up to the expectations. So I think there's a lot of that goes into it, especially in a season where we're basing everything on what happens within your conference. I just think he's been great. I mean, I've been extremely impressed with him. A lot of explosiveness. Once that guy gets past the first level, I mean, he's a home run threat every time. But to me, it's just it goes into the overall view of your conference this year more so than in any other I can remember.
They're 5-2, 7 total games. You know how many 100-yard games he has in 7 games?
7. He's leading the country in virtually every rushing statistic.
It's amazing.
And he'll win the Doak Walker, and more power to him.
Right, exactly. Good job.
Yeah. Well, Corey's got a great point. I mean, the league's not that good. Defense we know isn't good in the Big 12. Kind of reminds me of some parts of the SEC that we know well around here. All right, Corey, on that note, enjoy golf enjoy CrossFit this weekend.
Hey, we got Freddie Freeman tonight. So we're going to, probably talk to Freddie Freeman around, 7 o'clock tonight and get his take on being National League MVP. So it should be a very cool moment for Braves fans coming tonight.
Will you have a column up on that after that conversation?
Yeah, I'm actually I'm going to have something up tomorrow morning on Talking Chop. Actually, I kind of wanted to take a different route. And now that we know that this is going to end probably with the MVP, where does this season rank in terms of the great offensive seasons for Braves players? So that's kind of where the approach I wanted to take. It's definitely up there, 60 games or not.
No doubt. That's a great point. Great point. He makes a lot of them around here at 12:30 on Thursday afternoons. On Twitter at Corey J. McCartney. Make sure you're keeping up with him. Freddie Freeman hopefully wins the MVP tonight, set to be announced around 6 o'clock. Corey, thank you so much, man. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and we look forward to speaking with you next week.
All right, guys. Appreciate it.
There you go. On Twitter at Corey J. McCartney. The JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen, is in the books. Hour 1, time for a timeout. We'll tell you where Tiger is and how close to the lead he is when we return. The best cheesesteak in Charleston is at DB's Cheesesteaks. JB here. We say it every day, and we mean it. You voted for him. Let DB's Cheesesteaks in Avondale and West Ashley feed your family this football season. Use your favorite delivery app. Have them dropped off before your favorite game. And don't forget the boardwalk fries. They come with the Old Bay seasoning. DB'sCheesesteaks.com for the full menu. Hoagies, hot dogs, burgers, and more. DB's Cheesesteaks, the best cheesesteak in Charleston, the best cheesesteak for football.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
Family Bingo Night is back. All 3 Dog and Duck locations. Every Monday from 6 to 8 is the perfect time to bring the kids, have dinner, and play bingo. They've upped the prizes with retail store gift cards, gas cards, in-house cash cards, and kid-friendly gift cards like Nintendo, pizza, App Store, and more. Thanks for supporting local businesses like the Dog and Duck in Bell Hall, Park West, and on Clements Ferry Road.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back 9 is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Clamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the National Anthem.
live, loud, and online.
All right, 105, final hour here on a Thursday afternoon, November the 12th. The JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. Find them at stokesvw.com. Download the all-new JB and Goldwater app on Google Play Store or in the Apple Store on your iPhone. It's free, and you can purchase a season ticket while you're in there. We'd love for you to do that. You can watch and listen to our program whenever or however you'd like to via the app, but that season ticket is going to give you access to a bunch of really neat stuff. And we appreciate all those who've done so thus far. 843-321-8893 is our phone number, and it's also our text line, and it's open for the next 25 or so minutes. Scott Glaze is going to jump in and talk golf with us as well. Across all social media platforms, at JB and Goldwater, at Sports Radio JB, at Darren Goldwater. By the way, if you want to come to the social event on November the 27th, starting at noon, we'll be live at Paddock and Whiskey on James Island. It's going to be really neat. They're going to have some bourbon tastings, going to have some football, all types of stuff going on that Friday after Thanksgiving and right before that Saturday when Carolina and Georgia play. It's a big Saturday, a rivalry weekend still. If you go to jbandgoldwatershow.com, you can hit the RSVP button and let us know that you're coming so we know how many to expect so we can make sure that it can accommodate, unfortunately, in these COVID times.
Exactly. Socially distant.
That is exactly
But come
right.
on out, hang out.
That's going to be a lot of
Learn
fun.
something about some bourbon, drink some bourbon, watch some football.
That's right. Food, family, football, fun, bourbon.
There you go. And if you missed anything from the first hour, awesome conversations with Cloninger of the Post and Courier talking Gamecocks and Corey McCartney hitting a wide range of things. It's another reason to be a member of our season ticket club. When the show is over, you will get those emailed directly into your inbox.
That's right. That's right. Those conversations specifically. On the course, the Masters, of course, airing live in Augusta, Georgia. Delayed 3 hours this morning. If you're just waking up, welcome to the party. It's 1 o'clock. But Webb Simpson and Lee Westwood are in the lead at 5 under. Webb through 11. Lee is through 10. At 4 under, Louis Oosthuizen, Paul Casey. And then at 3 under, there are two names. One is Patrick Reed. The other is Tiger Woods. And he just missed a long birdie putt, but and I think that was on 17. But he was able to tap in for par, so he's now on 18, about to make the turn, just 2 shots off the lead. And, Darren, one of the comments that you made as we were in break there is there must truly be something to knowing this course because, you know, here's Tiger again, who's not played well this year. He's really been kind of trying to feel it out. He's been a little bit banged up by his own admission. But yet out here in Augusta, he's just doing his thing so far. He's had to make a couple of saves, had to make a couple of nice shots, but he knows where to put the ball on the course. And, you know, if he kind of trusts himself out there, he will be in contention.
I'm interested when we talk with Scott Glaze about the first hole for Tiger because it's a fine drive. The approach shot, and if you follow Tiger Tracker on Twitter, it's a fantastic follow. And he put it out. He said, I cannot stress this anymore. That was horrible, or something along those lines. Tiger, with a beautiful chip, just hugged the lip, knocks it in for par after that. I'm interested how much that was a key to his round, because that, plus the knowledge of the course, the fact that he's been playing so poorly, if he gets off to a +1 start, granted it is 1 hole out of 72, but he gets off to that start, and it is easy to not be able to get the train on the tracks quickly.
Yeah.
But he did, and he's now 3 under par, and yeah, you hear it all the time about knowing Augusta and how course knowledge is so vital, and it's got to be true because Tiger has been awful this year. He's been awful, and now here he sits right around the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's some really important topics to get to here with Scott coming up in just a little bit. We've noticed, too, throughout the day that a lot of these golfers are playing the course a little bit differently because the conditions have been soft, and they've been able to kind of try to not necessarily run it up there, but attack some of these pins a little bit more as we've watched it unfold, if you haven't been able to see some of it. Really interesting stat here from Gene Sapikoff. Tiger has shot under 70 just once on a Thursday at the Masters. That was a 68 back in 2010, and he finished tied for 4th. Last year, when he won the Masters, he did shoot a 70, but not under. So Tiger is trying to get that done today.
Only once he's been
only
below
once in his career, yeah, and that was just in 2010. It wasn't 97, when he blew away the field, or 2001, 2000, any of those years. It was just it was 10 years ago is when that happened. A couple of the other golfers of note that are set to tee off this afternoon more than likely won't be able to finish their rounds because of darkness, due to the delay from this morning. Ricky Fowler, he'll go at 2:26 this afternoon. Phil Mickelson, of course, knows Augusta quite well. He'll tee at 2:37. So will Bubba Watson and Matthew Wolff and Tommy Fleetwood. That's a nice little group going there. Adam Scott's going to go at 2:48. On the tee at 2:59 today is Brooks Koepka and Justin Thomas. Rory and Dustin Johnson, they'll go at 3:10 this afternoon. So will Patrick Cantlay in that group. How about Freddie Couples? He'll tee it up at 3:10 today as well. Freddie Couples was my dad's favorite golfer before my dad passed away 25 years ago. He's been around a while.
I remember following Freddie many, many times at the Kemper Open with my dad. Great guy who always plays. That's another example of knowing the course. He's always around the lead early on in Augusta.
Yeah,
always.
They say that back in the day, Couples used to be the party organizer.
Yeah.
On the tour.
Uh-huh.
They say it used to kind of, whatever Couples was putting together, you wanted to make sure you went to.
Yep.
That's what they say. Zach Johnson's going to go at 3:21 today, and so is Justin Rose. One of the other notables from this first round is what has been going on with Bryson DeChambeau, who he's at even. That puts him in a tie for 18. And when you look at his scorecard, you go, oh, okay, well, he's only had one bad hole, and that is true based on the scorecard. It was just that double at 13 that's led to this even showing here through the first 10 holes of his round. He did have back-to-back birdies on 15 and 16, but he's been all over the map with that driver. He's had to save himself multiple times, so I'll be interested to see, how he approaches the rest of this front nine, which is he's made the turn. He started on the back nine, because you do have the par 5 here that he's on at 2, and I think he just pulled that drive to the left.
Yep.
You got a couple of par 3s in there at 4 and 6, and then you got that par 5 at 8, and you got a couple of other holes in there that are tricky, and he's been really willing to go ahead and swing for it and try to hack it in there and attack the course. I mean, he's not giving up on his game, even though Augusta can eat you up. So I'm anxious to see what he does down the stretch here on this back nine, which, again, is the front nine at Augusta today for Bryson. But so far he's just been kind of sticking true to form, and I think he's lucky to be at even.
He is. He's had some fortunate breaks, as you said. His driver's been all over the map. He's not going to change, though. And if he can not lose the tournament today, like, you're not going to win it, but you can lose it. If he can avoid losing the tournament today, and then the next couple of days straighten it out a little bit, that's when we could see DeChambeau overpower this course. Today, that's not happening because he's not giving himself the opportunities to overpower the course.
Yeah, no doubt. By the way, I want to give some props to ESPN. Their coverage has been magnificent, but the intro to the Masters, the final shot of the intro when Tiger walked up and hugged his son after last year, if you didn't have chill bumps when you saw, I don't care if you like Tiger or not, if you didn't have goosebumps seeing that father, it come full circle, the father hugging his son like it did the first time he won the Masters, I mean, that's
I remember it. I remember it from last year.
Wow.
I mean, I got it again just from you talking about it. I remember last year almost myself getting just a little choked up.
Oh, I
about
did.
it,
I had tears in my eyes.
Yeah, just thinking about my dad. But there was another story during the rain delay. It was about 20 minutes. They had just announced that the tee time or the resumption would be 10:30. Then they backed it up to 10:22. So coverage was beginning to get rolling, and they ran a piece. Tom Rinaldi, who always, he's going to bring tears. Talk about that.
He's good at that.
So Tom Rinaldi had a piece on that victory, and he was talking with Zach Johnson. Zach Johnson said on Zach Johnson's final 4 or 5 holes on Sunday last year, he's on the course for the final 4 or 5 holes. They're watching his caddy's phone, the live stream of Tiger, shot by shot. He said they didn't miss a single shot watching on their live stream while he's on the course. He said, how could you not? It was history.
How is it that the golfers can carry their phones around out there and the patrons can't?
I noticed during the show, it's funny you say that, Tiger Woods pulled out his phone. I've never seen Tiger on the course do anything other than
Eat a banana.
Yeah, yeah, or drink a water or look at a yardage book or something. And maybe it was a yardage book, but it sure looked like he checked his phone.
By the way, according to Tiger Tracker, check this out. There is a group following Tiger on the course right now, a group of patrons.
Mm-hmm.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
Roger Goodell, Rob Manfred, and Peyton Manning walking with Tiger Woods on the course.
How'd they get tickets? Who do they know?
They're members of Augusta National.
Yeah, so
the commissioner of Major League Baseball, the commissioner of the NFL, and Peyton Manning walking the course with Tiger Woods.
Remember last year it was who was the swimmer who was in the background? Phelps.
Yeah, Michael Phelps.
It was Phelps. He was
like front row.
Yep.
He was like right in the middle of it.
Yep, but it was the background of some of the shots.
I met Michael Phelps.
Really?
In Columbia. Yeah, he used to have one of his friends. I think it was a soccer player in South Carolina, but he used to spend a lot of time. I mean, he got in trouble in Columbia. You do not remember that photo of him smoking pot and all that stuff?
Yeah.
That's not when I met him.
He got in trouble in lots of different places.
But he couldn't have been any nicer of a guy, by the way. But super nice guy. Met him at the Village Idiot Pizza in Columbia. All right, Corey McCartney in that last segment. We'll keep you updated on the Masters. We're watching it, and we'll let you know what's going on here. Tiger's got 2-putt coming up for par on 18. Corey McCartney mentioned that he thinks this could be the last year of Jim Harbaugh at Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly the rumors we know in our neck of the woods surrounding Will Muschamp and what his future might look like, if there is one, at South Carolina. The coaching carousel this year, there's always a coaching carousel, and this year won't be any different regardless of COVID. Okay? Now, it might not spin as quickly as it has in the past, and there might not be as much money going around out there as there was in the past, but it's still going to spin, Darren. And there's still a demand for college football success at all of these major institutions, and people are going to make changes. So the question becomes, all right, I'm going to ask you this. What are the high-profile jobs that we could anticipate being open in college? I know Michigan is one. What are the others?
I think the highest profile job will be Michigan. I think.
What type of job is that? J.C. Sherbert yesterday said the South Carolina job is a top 25 job. Now, that doesn't mean that South Carolina is ranked in the top 25, or they will be every year. What that means is everything encompassed: recruiting area, facilities, fan base, finances, all that type of stuff. Actually, if you go look at all that, it's higher than that. It's a top 20 job. But yeah, a top 25 job. Is Michigan a top 10 job?
Yes, because everything you just said.
Okay. That's why, I figured. I agree.
Yes, it's a top 10 job. And that's why it is, to me, surprising that Harbaugh came back this year. I've pointed this out many times on the show, how close it was that he wasn't coming back this year. But the saving grace was pretty much the same talk when they hired him. He's a Michigan guy. We want a Michigan guy, and a Michigan guy is going to turn this around. Yeah, okay. So now it's time to maybe abandon that model and go get the best possible coach they can get. I think Michigan has what should be the pick of the litter. Michigan should be able to get who they want to get because they're going to be able to spend the money to get whoever they want to get. After that, if there's an opening in Tennessee, I would put that very high on the list in terms of high-profile jobs open.
Interesting.
If there's an opening at Auburn,
I think Tennessee's a top 10, 12 job.
I agree. I think it's right there with Michigan because you're in the SEC. You've got the support. You've got the fan base. You've got the facilities. You got everything you need, which is why they're so frustrated in Knoxville at the moment. If Auburn comes open, I'd put that behind Tennessee and right around on par, maybe even a little behind South Carolina because at least Carolina's in the East and you're not competing with Alabama in the East. But I think they're very similar, at least from my perspective, in terms of openings.
There could be others though. I mean, let's you got Texas. Is Southern Cal a possibility this year?
Yes,
I think it is. I think Southern Cal, as long as Clay Helton is there, it's going to be a possibility every year. I think that there's a group of people in L.A. that are waiting on Southern Cal to kind of falter so they can get rid of him and go find somebody else.
No doubt.
I'm going to throw this out there. I don't think it's a reality. You've mentioned it before, but is Penn State a possibility? They're not going to fire James Franklin.
Yeah.
But could James Franklin be a guy who would be interested in taking another high-profile job? Could it be a guy who'd be interested in heading to the NFL? What if the New York Jets called? Would James Franklin want to entertain that? I would hope not.
We'd run the other way.
Yeah, I would think so, right?
But, I mean, you hear it all the time that there's a shelf life for virtually every coach in every sport, regardless of level. You can have a couple exceptions like Nick Saban. He's never getting fired. Dabo Swinney's never getting fired. But James Franklin does not have that luxury. He will not be fired this year. There's no chance. He's got almost a $40 million buyout. But there's something to be said for getting out before they get you. And Penn State has a lot of problems. There are problems in the locker room too. And it's been a stressful time. Remember, Franklin can't see his wife and family because his daughter has an autoimmune disorder. So he is staying away from his family for the entire season.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's affecting everything. I don't know. But the fan base is not going to be upset if he chooses to move on. And I think he knows that. I don't think it happens this year, but let's see how the rest of the year plays out, and maybe.
There's this group of coaches that we've been talking about and been discussing as where they could land. Most of those coaches most of those coaches are surrounding the group of five, maybe the Sun Belt in particular. Guys like Jamie Chadwell, guys like Billy Napier. Where's the next step for those guys? Obviously, Hugh Freeze at Liberty, a huge name that has popped up. There's some assistant coaches out there. Will Healy at Charlotte is a name that is popping up more and more. You didn't mention Vanderbilt. That's certainly a school that could have an opening at the end of the year. Right now, I would almost anticipate that they might have an opening at the end of the season. But we'll see. Finances are tight, and we don't necessarily know where Vanderbilt stands. But, okay, so you have that group of coaches. But what about the group of coaches that could be moving on from some of those major programs? Like I just asked you about James Franklin, and if he's a guy who would, let's say there was an opening at a place like Texas or Michigan or Southern Cal. Number one, would he even be a candidate for any of those jobs? Number two, would he want to take one of those jobs, or does he think that, hey, look, where I am is good? That's a question that let's set that over here.
Mm-hmm.
What about Harbaugh? If Harbaugh is out at Michigan, is he in college football next year?
No.
Okay.
No, you'd be crazy to have him in college football next year. He's in the NFL. Next year, 2 years.
As a head coach?
Next year, 2 years down the road, his next head coaching job will be the NFL. Whether I don't know when that's going to be, but
where.
Right, or where. But his next job will be in the NFL.
What about a guy like Tom Herman? I mean, if Texas says, look, Tom, we've had enough, is Tom Herman a guy who, even if he gets fired at Texas, is able to go get another quality job?
I think so, don't you?
I would like to think so, but you gotta. But fans and again, fans are not the end all be all in these decisions, because we hear a lot of it around here that's just not true at times. By the way, Tiger on 18 has parred, so he will make the turn at 3 under, just 2 shots off the lead in the first round of the Masters. Great opening 9 for Tiger Woods. There will be people who say, well, look, wait a second. You couldn't get it done at Texas with all those resources, all that money, that recruiting base, those facilities. You're talking about Texas, and you couldn't win at that level there. How are you going to win at that level here?
I think there are a lot of problems at Texas. I don't think it's just Tom Herman. Remember, going back to the beginning of the year, there was a lot of racial issues. The song, whatever it's called, The Eyes of Texas, I think. Yeah. There are players who are frustrated that nothing's being done at Texas to address their concerns.
Yeah, but these problems were long before this. I mean, the last couple of years, they weren't as good as they thought they would be.
This is true. This year, they're all kind of meshing in there together. Tom Herman has been an epic disappointment at Texas, but based on his track record prior, I think I would go as far to say is I'd be happy to have him at Penn State because I do think he can build something if he's in the right situation. And he was at Ohio State and was pretty good there. Not as head coach, but he was pretty good. So the Big Ten, yeah. Is he an option at Michigan? I don't know. That might be a tough sell to Michigan fans to say we're going to take Texas's guy who's fallen on his face a little bit. But you could see Tom Herman, I think, get another high-profile job, like Power 5 high-profile job.
Do these jobs, the Texas job, the Michigan job, I'm going to throw the Southern Cal job into this just in case it happens to open itself up. But do those type of jobs have any effect, and if they do, how much of an effect on something like South Carolina?
Well, yes, because everything is tied together. Southern Cal, I put on a little bit of a different level because LA is its own conversation. LA is not a college town. California is not a college state. As many colleges play, that is a professional sport place.
No doubt.
If you can be the guy who can get Southern Cal back in the top 5, top 10, you will be revered forever. But that's a different job. But all the other jobs, they have to be connected because there's only going to be so many candidates out there. They're going to be, I'm not going to say everyone. A lot of people want Billy Napier. A lot of people want Hugh Freeze. A lot of people could be interested in Satterfield. I think Herman could generate good interest also if he is out there and maybe even if he's not. Although my guess is his buyout's pretty high.
Everybody loves to throw the Urban Meyer name around. Is he a factor in any of these jobs? Maybe Texas?
I think he is a factor, like JC said, if he thinks he can go somewhere and win a title and win it relatively soon. Yeah. So Michigan, maybe. Texas, maybe.
Oh, could you imagine him in Michigan? I can't. I can't see it. I just can't see it.
I can.
Wow.
I can. Because, first of all, if he goes to Michigan and turns the tables on Ohio State, then he's going to be loved and hated by both programs.
Do you think that Michigan would make a real pitch for Urban Meyer? I do think they would. I think they would.
I do.
Because you can't not make if you're Michigan, you have to check every box if you've got an opening. You have to. You don't have any choice up there.
Yeah.
You got to check every box.
Yes.
And I know that they say, well, we want a Michigan man. Well, at the end of the day, Michigan fans just want a winner.
Yes.
So because they're tired of getting beat by Ohio State every year, and if they think Urban Meyer can do it, I think they'd be willing to accept him as much as they couldn't stand the guy when he was on the other sideline.
Yeah, look at Spurrier, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's not like the Gamecocks loved him when he was in Florida, but you loved him when he was your coach and doing well.
Well, but there's a difference there.
It's not like he went to Georgia.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I don't know that Spurrier – I don't know that Georgia fans would have been welcoming Steve Spurrier with open arms if there was an opening at Georgia for him to hop there from the NFL.
Let's say Dabo Swinney decides, you know what? I'm tired. I'm getting out of the game. And 5 years down the line, I want to get back in. And let's say Carolina is in a similar situation you are right now. Wouldn't you want Dabo Swinney?
I don't know that the fan base would. Look, there's going to be a lot of people who would say that.
Yeah.
Like, yes, they would. I think a lot of people actually probably would if they thought that it meant guaranteeing wins. But I think right now most people are like, no, I would not want anything to do with that guy.
I think Michigan would be in a different spot. I think Michigan, if Urban Meyer would come there, they would say, let's go. Let's go. Let's go beat Ohio State. Let's become the Michigan we think we are.
Yeah. I mean, it all depends on how you think of. I mean, you're not making a bad point because there's going to be a group of people who say things like, if you're talking about pulling a former foe and putting him on your sideline, there's a group of people that say, ha, we got him now, as long as the results pan out, obviously. If not, then you just become more and more of a laughingstock against your rival. But then there's a group of people that say, I can't stand him. I didn't like him then. I don't like him now. Whoever that may be, it doesn't matter. I don't know. It's fascinating to think about because, in our little neck of the woods here, it's Carolina can go hire whoever they want to. I mean, you get on a message board. Well, you have to call Urban Meyer.
Yeah, you can call him. You can call him.
I mean, I agree with what JC said yesterday. Like, if you're Coach Tanner, if there is ever an opening, do you call Bob Stoops? I think you have to call him. You call him and say, do you have any interest in coaching? See what he says. I don't know.
It's the same thing in a contract negotiation. if you go to whoever is in charge of the money that you're receiving and you want a certain amount of money, if you don't ask for it, you have no chance of getting that money. Same thing with coaching. Unless they apply to you, right? Unless Bob Stoops shows genuine interest, that's one thing. I don't think Urban Meyer is going to reach out and say, I have genuine interest. But South Carolina should absolutely make the phone call and just see.
Well, that's what, Mike McGee, and I know we got to run, so we got to get to Scott here, but Mike McGee, that's what he did well when he was AD. Now, he didn't know what he was doing with facilities.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people that didn't like Eric Hyman, and there's a lot of things about Eric Hyman to not like. But Eric Hyman did know what he was talking about when it came to the finances and building facilities. The other stuff, but Mike McGee would call anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Mike hired Lou. Mike hired Steve. Mike hired, Eddie Fogler when he's at the top of his game. Mike hired Coach Tanner.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys were the name.
Yeah.
They were the names in the sport, and he got them all. And some ADs can do that, but, we'll have to see how it all pans out. Right now, how it's panning out in Augusta is Tiger Woods is 2 shots off the lead. Webb Simpson alone at 5 under. We'll get Scott Glaze's take on this in a can't-miss golf conversation coming up next on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.
Is your old car really scary? Does it look dreadful or smell awful? Don't be frightened. There's never been a better time to trade in your spooky old car. Stokes Volkswagen just received a new shipment of the VW Atlas and VW Crossport. But here's what makes that even sweeter. Every new Atlas and Crossport is $3,000 off MSRP. Plus, every 2020 Volkswagen is available with 0% financing. That's right. You get both the huge discount and 0% financing. So if you want to play trick or treat at other dealerships, that's okay. Come see us at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or visit stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Plus tax tag includes $399.50 closing fee. Offer subject to lender approval. Expires month end.
The best cheesesteak in Charleston is at DB's Cheesesteaks. JB here. We say it every day, and we mean it. You voted for them. Let DB's Cheesesteaks in Avondale and West Ashley feed your family this football season. Use your favorite delivery app. Have them dropped off before your favorite game. And don't forget the boardwalk fries. They come with the Old Bay seasoning. DB'sCheesesteaks.com for the full menu. Hoagies, hot dogs, burgers, and more. DB's Cheesesteaks, the best cheesesteak in Charleston, the best cheesesteak for football.
Family Bingo Night is back. All 3 Dog and Duck locations. Every Monday from 6 to 8 is the perfect time to bring the kids, have dinner, and play bingo. They've upped the prizes with retail store gift cards, gas cards, in-house cash cards, and kid-friendly gift cards like Nintendo, pizza, App Store, and more. Thanks for supporting local businesses like the Dog and Duck in Bell Hall, Park West, and on Clements Ferry Road.
What's up, everybody? This is South Carolina singer-songwriter Patrick Davis, and I might live in Nashville, Tennessee, but guess what? I can always listen to the JB and Goldwater Show because they are always live, loud, and online.
This will be live tomorrow night at the Charleston Music Hall. PatrickDavisMusic.com for tickets. Socially distanced show downtown. PD coming to town today. Looking forward to seeing him tomorrow night. Hope to see many of you out there as well. JV and Goldwater Show driven by Stokes Volkswagen. We are watching the Masters. Real quick before we get Scott in here, that coaching conversation we were having too. There's a difference in hiring a coach to be the face of your program and hiring a coach to kind of save your program. Like, as it pertains to South Carolina, they hired Lou Holtz to save the program. He wasn't going to be the program builder. I'm going to make this thing mine, and I'm going to be around here a long time. Everybody knew that wasn't going to be the case. But they did hire Spurrier for that reason. And he made it known, hey, look, I want to retire here. I'm going to be here forever. So, I got plenty of time left in me. So when you go look for a coach, everybody's situation is going to be a little bit different. Michigan would probably be looking for someone to kind of come in and rejuvenate the program, stay as long as you want, but just get us back to where we're a top 5 team.
Get us in the playoffs.
Yeah, that type thing. All right, now we go to Scott Glaze out there in Hollywood, South Carolina. StoneO'FerryGolf.com. He, of course, is the golf pro at Stone O'Ferry, and it's a beautiful weekend to play golf. I would encourage you to do that. This weather's going to be out of here later on today. Thank the good Lord. I know you're dealing with it out there, Scotty. But the Masters is on, and they are playing, and Tiger had a great front nine, just 2 shots off the lead. What have you been seeing in his game?
I really was very pleased with Tiger. I think I don't know who dressed him this morning. I don't know whoever's dressing these Nike guys. When you tune into the coverage, I don't know what these Nike guys are wearing today. Some ugly colors, but besides that, Tiger looking good. 3 under, started on the back nine. We got started late this morning. There were only a couple groups on the course. Had a weather delay for a couple hours there. And we will not get the round done today. This will be the first time since 2006 that a round was not completed at the Masters. That'll be fine. They'll be able to catch up for it. Weather looks good the rest of the way. Tiger was looking great. From what I saw, he was hitting some very precise iron shots, keeping the ball in play. That's big for Tiger. He's always prone to the big miss. And making some putts. He made a very nice putt on 15 there, curler. That's what we have not seen out of Tiger. Tiger, I saw a stat on the Golf Channel earlier this week, and they're live from stuff that Tiger is, I want to say it was an absurd number that he has lost strokes gained putting in compared to 2019. It was something like 15 or 16 shots, which really just emphasizes what I've been saying about Tiger's is putting is what has held him back today so far, putting well. Interesting stats on Tiger. He is the defending champion. If he were to successfully defend this week, he would be the oldest player to defend a major championship since Old Tom Morris in 1862. Old Tom Morris defended his Open Championship in 1862. They only played a 12-hole golf course, and there were only, I think, about 8 other players in the field. So that was a long, long time ago. So Tiger defends this week. That is quite a bit of history there, about 160 years since someone his age did that. Another interesting Tiger stat as it pertains to the Masters. In 1997, when Tiger won his first Masters and dominated the field, there was a lot of talk about his distance. Now he's overpowering the golf course. It's a big theme this week with Bryson DeChambeau.
Yes.
However, Tiger still leads in the driving distance stat for a Masters tournament, 323 yards.
I hate to interrupt you here, Scott, but he just sank about a 25-footer on one for birdie.
Nice.
And he is now in at 4 under. I wanted to make sure we got that in as it happened. Go ahead and continue, though.
Yeah, so Tiger's record of 323 yards for those 4 days in 1997, that record still stands. We could see that drop or fall this week finally with Bryson DeChambeau, and I know that we'll talk about that. But last thing about Tiger in his starts at the Masters, typically Tiger starts slow. At 4 under today is great for Tiger. But in his 5 previous Masters victories, he has started no better than 2 under par. He has shot 74 times, including last year, and shot 74 one other time. I believe it was 2005. He shot 74 in the first round and came back from that. So Tiger has had some good first rounds in Masters history, but historically starts a little slower in his campaign for a green jacket. I think in the last 10 years, the average score of the eventual Masters champion in the first round was 68.7. So Tiger at that 4 under score, looking good in that regard.
Yeah, Gene Sapikoff noted earlier the only time Tiger's been under par in the first round in his career was back in 2010. He finished tied for 4th then. We'll get to Bryson here in a minute. But, Darren mentioned a little while ago that there is something about knowing the golf course at Augusta that is very important. And clearly Tiger this year has had his struggles at times with some health, when it came to his body. And he's felt a little bit uncomfortable in certain parts of his game. But how can knowing a course where he's had as much success as he's had, like Augusta National, help him overcome some of that?
Well, it just gives you a leg up on the field. I mean, it's going to give you confidence to know that you've got an extra club in your bag. You've got a 15th club that is the course knowledge, and that is so key at Augusta National. That can do wonders for your confidence, calming the nerves, calming any types of questions that you may have in your game. Golf is a game of confidence. That's what it is. If you strut out there and don't believe in yourself and your swing and your game plan and so on and so forth, you're not going to play well. As simple as that. You can't hide it. So having that confidence and that swagger strolling down the fairways at Augusta National is key for Tiger. Brandel Chambly did point out this week that he noticed last time we saw Tiger at the Zozo Championship, and I'm sure he watched a lot more of it and analyzed it a little more than I did, but he said he saw Tiger playing a lot of shots, and we talked about this in the preparation for the Masters. Saw Tiger hitting a lot of shots at the Zozo at Sherwood that did not fit the shape of the holes that he was playing. He was playing a lot of draws. Well, at Augusta National tends to favor a draw for the right-handed player.
Wow.
So I think it's, Tiger did not have a good performance at the Zozo, but like we said then, he was preparing for the Masters, and this is the week to lay it all on the line, put the pedal to the metal. So we're seeing that today, and we'll see how he can hold on. I think it is good for him. He might have gotten the good part of the wave, the draw there, by playing early today. He will complete his round. He will not complete his round Friday, but I think it's good for him to get a good start and then be able to have some rest and then go into tomorrow afternoon and go from there. And he's a defending champion. That green jacket is still on his shoulders until somebody takes it off. So I know that's big for Tiger this week and is extremely motivating.
It's funny you mentioned working on hitting that draw because he just teed off on 3, which is exactly what he needed to do right there on 3. Is it 2?
On 2.
On 2. Okay, it's 2. Either way, it's a draw. Let me ask you this.
And he punished it right
down
the middle.
Yeah, he did. It was a beautiful shot. On the first hole, Tiger puts himself in fine position. His approach shot was atrocious. I did see someone put out there maybe there was mud on the ball. Either way, he was off the back left. He was dead. And he put that chip snug right up next to the lip, knocks it in for par. For Tiger, who has been struggling, how big was that on his first hole, number 10 today?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, you got to get off to a good start. Birdie is a great way to get to start a golf tournament, but starting poorly, it can be detrimental. So even though it was not a birdie, but a great par save, missing left on 10 is a horrible miss, almost a certain bogey. So for him to be able to save that par, it was huge for his momentum to start the day and to get his feet underneath him. He was then able to get into some birdie holes there. He was able to birdie the par 5s on the back 9, 13, and 15. And then he followed that by stuffing one in there on 16, saw that shot. So nice tap-in birdie. Those are the best kinds of birdies, the ones you don't have to think about. You can just tap those things in without too much pressure. I think that was huge for him to start with something good. I always say par is your friend. Par is your friend. It's great to have par saves, and those can maintain momentum in your round just as much as birdies or eagles can.
Let me throw some numbers at you. Right now, averaging 1.5 putts per hole is Tiger. His driving distance is right around 292. He is 4 of 8 on fairways and fairways hit and greens hit. He is 8 of 10. What number stands out to you of those I just referenced?
Definitely greens hit. If he's hit 8 of 10 last year when Tiger won, and I spoke to this last week, he led the field in strokes gained approach. He hit just over 80% of the greens that week, and that is the highest of any Masters champion ever. So if he's maintaining that clip of 80% of greens hit, that is very, very good. Augusta National is really going to pinpoint iron play. It's going to pinpoint putting. It's going to pinpoint driving distance, but iron play is crucial because these greens are so diabolical, so unique. And like we were talking about number 10, if you miss it left there, it's a it's a terrible miss. Actually, anywhere on 10 is a terrible miss. You miss it right, you're coming straight down the hill. Terrible miss there. You have to put the ball in the right spots, and if you put it in the wrong spot, it can almost be a certain bogey. So that leads to iron play. You have to be precise with the irons, put the ball in the right spots to give yourself chances at birdie, so that you can putt aggressively and not have to putt defensively to try and save your par. So that stands out to me. If Tiger's hitting greens, if his ball striking's there, he's the best ball striker of all time, and that's not just my opinion. I mean, those are facts if you look at stats. So that's what stands out as what would be key to a successful title defense.
On Twitter at Scott Glaze, Golf Pro, Stone Ferry, StoneFerryGolf.com to book your tee times. And you go ahead and start getting the stocking stuffers as well. You get gift cards at Stone Ferry, put them in the stocking for Christmas this year. Make sure you don't forget to do that. Paul Casey is now in the lead at 6 under. He's through 11 holes, and Webb Simpson is at sole possession of second at 5. Then there's that group at 4 under, including Tiger, John Rahm, Lee Westwood, and Louis Oosthuizen. But Tiger with a great drive here on 2, par 5-2. And Tiger looking to birdie and get into the second place with Webb Simpson. Let's talk about some of the others that are on the course here. And Bryson DeChambeau obviously is a story. Now, here's the thing. He has recovered. He is 1 under. He's 5 shots off the lead. He's got 3 birds today, and he's got that double on 13. But he's not been good off of the tee box a lot of the day. Scott, what have you seen with him? I mean, clearly, he's sticking to his game. I'm just going to grip it and rip it. How as this weekend moves on, the weather's moving out, the course is going to dry up, conditions are going to change a little bit and things like that. How will that help or hurt him as the week moves along?
I think, from what I've seen so far from Bryson is he has not been accurate off the tee. He hit a few wayward drives there early. And, yeah, you can hit the ball a long way, but if you're not hitting it straight, then it's going a long way in the wrong direction. We saw him make a double bogey on the par 5 13th there, hit it in the trees off the tee. Then his second shot going for the green, put it in one of the azalea bushes there, had to take an unplayable lie. Ended up making a 7 on a hole that he should really be making no more than 4, which is a birdie every time this week. He's got to keep the ball in play because you're not going to be able to play from the pine straw and in the trees at Augusta National and be able to win the golf tournament. From what I see on the golf course, I think it could be a sweepstakes this weekend. The course is very soft. Now, granted, there was a lot of rain that came down this morning. You saw those pictures there. It was borderline torrential. So very soft. The ball is sticking wherever it lands, which is great for the good ball strikers out there. We could see some really, really low rounds. We had the race to 270 in the presidential election. About a week ago, we could have a race to 270 at the Masters. That's the all-time scoring record.
Wow.
270 strokes. That is 18 under par. That was set by Tiger Woods in 1997 and then was matched by Jordan Spieth when he won his Masters title there. I'm not saying that Bryson's going to do that. We could see that from the eventual champion. We could have really, really low scores. I think the course will dry out. There's a little bit of wind forecasted for the weekend in terms of Bryson and anyone else in the field. I think that can help it play a little more difficult. Right now, the course is very gettable. So if you get out there, you gotta make some hay today. And so far, we're not seeing what everyone thought we would see out of Bryson. That could change, but he's basically playing a par 67 instead of a 72 this week. With his distance, he can attack all par 5s, and they're really par 4s for him. And then the short third at Augusta National is drivable for him with a 3-wood. So it's basically making it a par 3. So when you do that math, if he's playing a par 67, if he shoots even par, he's 20 under for the week. So right now he's playing over that par. And we're seeing that Augusta National is no cakewalk. You got to be on top of your entire game in order to play well out there. And today DeChambeau is not on top of his entire game.
Real quick note here. I don't know if you saw this or heard about this with Tiger, but there is a group of members following him on the course. And that group is a threesome. And the names are Rob Manfred, the commissioner of Major League Baseball, Roger Goodell and Peyton Manning following Tiger Woods down the course as he is making his second shot here on number 2. This is the back 9, of course, for Tiger, and I don't think he likes it very much. It is a par 5, and he is way to the right, and I don't know if he went in the trap or he's a little bit wide of the trap, but clearly he was trying to get it there. So he's going to have some work to do to try to birdie here on number 2. Certainly possible. Let's look at the afternoon here. Number 1, what do you anticipate the course doing this afternoon as opposed to what it's done so far this morning? And give us some names to watch. And obviously, Koepka, Thomas, they golf at 249. Phil's at 227 today. You got Fowler in there at 216. I think Bubba, he's at 227. Rory and DJ, they're at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Some of the bigger names in golf still left to go. Who are we watching and why are we watching them?
Well, I mean, we've got – really, it's the top 10 in the world is so strong right now. I think that's who we have to be watching. Top 10 in the world is Dustin Johnson, Jon Rahm, Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa, Rory McIlroy, Bryson DeChambeau, Webb Simpson, Xander Schauffele, Tyrrell Hatton, and Patrick Cantlay. I would say those are your favorites to win. I mean, we have some absolute studs in the world golf ranking, top of the world golf ranking right now. However, only 3 of the last 13 major or Masters champions have come from top 10 in the official world golf rankings. Tiger last year was ranked 12th. Someone who's ranked 12th in the official world golf rankings this year is Brooks Koepka. It's a tale as old as time. It's a major championship. Brooks Koepka is going to show up. I expect Brooks Koepka to show up. Since 2016, in just the majors, Brooks Koepka is a combined 76 under par. Next to that is Dustin Johnson at 14 under par. So he's barely within 60 strokes of Brooks Koepka in the majors since 2016. He's dominant. He's going to be there. He's not my pick to win. I don't think he's been in the best form. That's why we've seen him. We've obviously seen him slip down the rankings there. Brooks is not my pick to win, but he is going to be there. He's going to be a factor as always in these major championships. He's a big game hunter. I think who I'm pulling the most for this week is not my pick, but who I really want to see win, other obviously than Tiger, is Rory McIlroy.
Me too.
I think he is one. He comes into this Masters probably farthest under the radar than he's ever been coming into the Masters. He had a devastating loss when he was 21 years old. He had a 4-shot lead going into Sunday. I think it might have been 2011. And that lead crumbled on the back 9 and he lost the Masters, and he's really never been in a great position to do so again. So it kind of haunts him. He always comes into the Masters with such hype. He would complete the career Grand Slam by winning the Masters. But this year, due to Tiger defending, other big names, DeChambeau, Rory's very under the radar. And I really, really would love to see him slip on a green jacket. He needs to improve his iron play. In the past, it's been a strength of his game. He has really struggled since the return to golf. In his approach game there. Who else do we have this afternoon? We have Justin Thomas, and he was going to be my pick. He is not my pick this week. Tremendous ball striker, best on tour the last 2 years, very streaky putter. He can be streaky off the tee too. He can start hitting the ball all over the place, and distance is great. But like I said earlier, you can't be playing from the trees and the pine straw all week and expect to don a green jacket. Tony Finau is another player, kind of under the radar, great track record at Augusta National, racks up top 10s. But my pick for this week, and you'll see him this afternoon, is Dustin Johnson. He really swayed me with his own comments in his press conference earlier this week, saying that he is in as good, if not better form than he was in 2017, when the guy was the best golfer on the planet by far and practically a lock to win the Masters, and then had his incident where he slipped and fell down some steps, pulled his back, had to withdraw from the tournament. He says his game is in better shape than it was then. He has 6 consecutive top 10 finishes, his last 6 starts. He has finished in the top 10 at the Masters the last 4 years. The guy plays really, really well right around these parts. He's a great ball striker. His putting, although streaky, he has improved his putting. And you really see an uptick in these guys the more rounds and experiences at Augusta National that they have. And Dustin's really just getting into that Masters prime, so to speak, with his experience here. And he is going to be one to watch this afternoon. I think he's going to be the one to watch all week. I think we'll see him wearing a green jacket by Sunday afternoon.
Oh, wow. So would certainly make the state of South Carolina proud as well. Another feather in the cap for Coastal Carolina this year. To start the tournament, according to mybookie.ag, odds for Tiger to win at 32-1. Live odds right now 8-1. For Tiger Woods.
That's
another little stat about DJ. He would be the first world number 1 to win the Masters since Tiger did it in 2002.
Wow. That's hard.
It's been 18 years since world number 1 has won the Masters.
All right, we got about 2 minutes left with you here, Scott. Tiger again right now. I mean, he is seemingly the story thus far at 4 under, 2 shots off. He's got about 20 feet for birdie here on number 2. If not, he'll tap in par on a 5 here, which I know he'd like to do better than that, but still. Tiger needs to do what the rest of this round to feel comfortable about his place teeing off on Friday?
I would say just not go backwards. If he can, it's always a bad feeling to finish a round at a lower point than you had it, if that makes sense. So he's got it at 4 under. If he finishes the round at 3 under or 2 under, I think that would be disappointing for him. So if he can maintain this round, finish at 4 under, which would be 68, maybe even get 1 or 2 more birdies, I think he's going to be in a great position. Tiger's going to have to go out there and get it. That intimidation factor, it still is there for Tiger, but we don't have the gallery that really heightens that intimidation factor with the roars. There is a difference between a Tiger Woods Masters roar and anybody else Masters roar. And we actually have seen the scoring average of players playing with Tiger go down nearly 2 shots since he came on tour in '97. So without the gallery, without the crowds, without, these young guys not being quite as intimidated maybe as they once were, he's going to have to go out there and get it. So he's going to have to keep playing good golf and not go backwards. So if he's able to get in the house today at 4 under or better, I think he's in great shape going forward for the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, I the Tiger factor, you're right. It's not like it was, but if he's in it on Sunday, it's there, especially since he won last year. I mean, it's kind of reemerged. If it might not be there all 4 rounds right now like it used to be, but if he's in it on Sunday, it's different because he won it last year. They know that. And we'll see how it all plays out. Really great stuff, Scott. StoneOakFerryGolf.com is where you can go to book your next tee time.
Become like Tiger.
Yeah, if you want to go out there and train yourself to become the next Tiger Woods, Scott can teach you how to do that. You can get lessons, you can get gift cards, you can book your tee times, all that type of stuff. So much on the website. See the entire golf course and things like that at StoneOakFerryGolf.com. This rain's going to be out of here later on this afternoon, so maybe try to tee it up this weekend. You can watch Tiger while you're playing on the course out there. Just put your phone in your
just like
cart.
Zach Johnson did.
Right.
Did you hear that, Scott? They did a piece prior to the tournament today, and I know we got to run here, but Zach Johnson said on the last 4 or 5 holes that he was playing, he and his caddy were watching on his caddy's phone every single shot Tiger played Sunday last year.
That's incredible.
That's great. That's great. Hey, there are only a couple people in all of sports that could garner that, and Tiger certainly is one of them.
Oh, no doubt. Great stuff, Scott. Wonderful. Really looking forward to the rest of the Masters, and we'll see if your pick is right, DJ, this week, as said by Scott Glaze. Thanks, bud.
Thanks, guys. Best weekend of the year. We'll see you.
You got it, man. Real quick as we run, National Chicken Soup for the Soul Day.
Chicken soup, man. Love it.
National Pizza with the Works, except anchovies Day.
Is that really?
That's true.
Good. I like that. Because I hate anchovies.
And National French Dip Day as well.
Oh, that's a good grouping of days.
Good food day.
All right.
We'll see how Tiger does. He's at 4 under. For David Cloninger, Corey McCartney, and Scott Glaze, thanks to all of them. Thanks to all of you for watching and listening to our program. Thanks to Darren Goldwater for what he does every day. It's impressive stuff.
Thank you.
You all have a terrific Thirsty Thursday afternoon. Enjoy the Masters, some football tonight, and things like that. We got a jam-packed show tomorrow. We're back at noon. JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.